Hey, everybody, it's Dr. Brian with Genesis Family Chiropractic and another episode of Doc About Town. And today we have a really special opportunity to get to talk with Mr. David Heighway, who is the Hamilton County historian based here at the Hamilton East Public Library in Noblesville. David and I have a little bit of history. We've done some work with theater, some Shakespeare work and things like that. Mm-hmm. But Dave's got a lot of great stories, and we're going to show you around the area up here, this newly renovated Indiana room, the Crossroads Center, Crossroads Discovery Center, and hopefully we're going to get some stories out of Dave while we're here. Dave?
Okay.
Welcome.
Good to see you again.
Thanks for getting together with us. This is great.
Well, this is fun. This is what we're trying to do. We're trying to introduce people to our new facility here. Okay. So this works out really well.
That's great. So let's talk about Dave a little bit for a second. How did you get started, and how did you end up being the Hamilton County historian? I know you're from this area, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Born and raised Central Indiana.
Okay.
Boone County, Hamilton County, things like that.
Yeah.
And my background is in history. My degree, graduate and undergraduate degree, are in history.
Okay.
And I have worked mostly in outdoor museums, places like Conner Prairie. But then as time went along, I was looking for other places to work, and I ended up here at the Hamilton East Public Library, living in Noblesville, and that is where I've been for 30 years.
Oh, wow.
So, and I also work with the Hamilton County Historical Society, which is down on Courthouse Square, which is in the old jail.
Okay.
And they're the ones who actually nominated me to the Indiana Historical Society to be county historian. That's how that happens.
Oh, okay.
Local Historical Society says, this person's going to be the contact person for all of the history consultant stuff. And so as a result, they suggested, IHS said great, and so now since about 2009. So
that is really cool. Mm-hmm. That is really cool. So what specifically areas of history are your degrees in? What did you study?
Actually, it's public history. It's all about taking all of this kind of information and interpreting it, translating it, getting it out to the general public to go ahead and to use it to do things, whether it's preserving buildings or just knowing about the local history. We, of course, had the county bicentennial just a year or so ago, and then we have the national 250th coming up here in a couple of years, and there are all sorts of other things like that going on. So
that's really cool. That is, and it's so funny to me. Most kids going through school, we just hate history class, right? But now that I'm getting older, I am fascinated by, and especially because of some of the stuff you and I have talked about, some of the historical, the stories and the people that lived those times. It's not all about memorizing dates. It's about what was happening and what were the interactions. So that's really cool. So and that's awesome.
Yeah, that's what we're doing is those stories is what attracts people. Next year, for instance, is the 100th anniversary of the trial of D.C. Stevenson, which is, of course, the Ku Klux Klan. Heavy-duty stuff there.
Yeah.
And so we're having to do some hard look at that and how are we going to talk about it and things like that. So a lot of the people and a lot of that kind of information is really going to be part of it.
Wow.
And, that will take some work on our part. So
yeah, no kidding. That sounds like a big ask.
Yeah.
That's a big ask.
But it's important.
But it is important.
It is there, and we have to deal with it. So.
That's right. How about that? That's great. Well, this facility is amazing, and the renovations are not quite complete. I think there's might be some construction noise in the background before we get done today, but it's looking amazing. This section is obviously done, it looks like, for the most part. Walk us through here. Tell us what the Crossroads Discovery Center is all about.
Great. Yeah, because what we've got in this part right here, this is all about getting people kind of genealogy, local history 101.
Okay.
And a lot of interactive stuff. We want people to be able to step in here and kind of say, okay, I don't know anything about this, and we're going to give them a few little bits and pieces. For instance, our first thing right over here, this is actually an interactive timeline of Hamilton County history, and it literally goes back to the Ice Age. It goes way, way back there. We go global, national, and local because people are trying to figure out, okay, I am interested in this, that, or the other thing. What else is happening around the world at that point in time? Let's see if we can go back to the 1860s. There you go. Because, for instance, locally, of course, you've got stuff about the Civil War, things like that. We were strongly supportive. We had a lot of different things going on there. So you have those sorts of things. This is a monument up at Crownland there.
Okay.
But in the same time period, of course, you've got stuff like the French invasion of Mexico, which actually impacted Hamilton County, believe it or not, because several regiments from Hamilton County were actually sent down there after the war to kind of guard the border. It's kind of wild. We have to kind of retract and explain to everybody, okay, yeah, we did get involved with that whole thing down in Mexico. So we actually had some of our troops down there as well.
Interesting.
So all sorts of stuff like that. So this is up here, as I say, kids love to come up here and they'll pan through it. There's a couple of bits of video on there that have sound as well. So it is a very, very effective way to teach there. So that's one of the things there.
That's cool.
Okay. Next thing we have is what we call our records table.
Okay.
And once again, this is all touchscreen stuff. Let's use this one right over here. What it is that when people do research into family history and stuff, they have to know what the documents are and where to find stuff. And so we kind of came up with this how-to thing here. We have these actual little things like this. They're just, cardboard or something like that, but they kind of have a little computer thing on there, RFID tag.
Okay.
And you put them in the slot there, and that opens up this whole thing here. You have the document that appears on there.
Oh, wow.
See that?
Yeah.
And then you press on it, it enlarges it, it talks a little bit. We have 4 people that we're dealing with, or 4 things that we're dealing with, where they're actually listed up there. Leonard Wild, who was the German immigrant who came in.
Okay, that's the blue.
That is the blue stuff.
Okay.
Lulu Misi, who was the first librarian in the county.
Okay.
And then Murphy White, who was the first African-American on the city council.
Okay.
And then the moving of the Craig House, which was in like the 1980s. And it was just downtown there.
I remember watching that.
See?
We were downtown. That was quite an ordeal. The whole town shut down.
It was pretty epic. And so we have gone back and we have kind of picked these 4 things to be able to talk about different aspects of doing research. With Leonard, of course, it's all about immigration, things like this. With Murphy, it's a lot about the African-American history. Craig House, it's about learning how to research a house, what sort of materials there are out there that will teach you how to do that kind of research. And what do we have available? What can you do here that is going to teach you that, okay, I have this house on Logan Street and, what's the history of it? Well, we have, maps and we have newspapers and occasionally photographs, not all the time, but occasionally photographs.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of material about how to do that. And this is kind of, for a lot of people, this is the first time they get a chance to learn about that.
I had no idea about any of this. This is fantastic.
This is that is the whole thing, is that even, if you've done this before, people know this kind of thing, but a lot of people haven't. They come to us and they just kind of throw their hands up and say, I want to look this up, and I have no idea where to start.
How about that?
So we've got this little hands-on thing here, and they can fiddle around with it. Kids can come in, do their own thing.
Yeah.
And so as a result, it's very, very user-friendly. That's the whole.
Michelle can't keep her hands off. She's playing over there while she's filming. This is really cool. This is amazing.
So that is what we're trying to do. Is we're trying to get this stuff so that people are fascinated, so that they have a chance to actually use the materials and study the materials in a way that's not intimidating.
Sure.
Because it's like you were talking about with boring history and names and dates and stuff like that. This is pretty boring documents for the most part, but we're showing, okay, they are useful and they can be interesting. They'll give you bits of information that you don't have otherwise. So
how about that?
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool.
Uh-huh.
All right, what else we got up here? This is incredible.
Yep. So we got a little display here kind of talking about just that sort of stuff. We have talked to a lot of people, and so we've gotten a lot of these documentations, images, different things like that. So some fun stuff there. So
I might actually be in that picture. I'll have to come back and look at it sometime, see if I'm there.
That is one of the things on the table. That's there. Funny. You can kind of pull that up. And yes, I almost wish somebody had taken some footage of it. I'm a little surprised we've not found that. 80s.
Yeah, well, 1987, that would have been videotape, VHS probably.
Well, we would have had that. So
yeah, how about that?
And then the next part is teaching people about oral history, your stories, your own stories there. And a lot of people are kind of like, well, I don't know what to do. So back inside here.
Oh.
And I'm not going to push any buttons because it'll freak your camera out. But we actually have microphone and camera. And when you push that, actually the first thing that happens is you get a nice little intro by Chris Jensen.
Okay.
So, and then you can actually sit here and you've got about 30 seconds to record a story. And it's kind of fun. People come in here, and we actually have a lot of kids that come in here, and they're pretty excited about doing this, some sort of recording or something like that. And we actually save it. We've got a whole list of them there, and you can pop it up there and kind of see all of that stuff.
Oh, my gosh. Mm-hmm. So you people that we would know, we could pull up the list and maybe see somebody's name on there that we would know. And, hey, what's the story that Todd Thurston's talking about?
That's it.
Dave Heighway's talking about.
Yeah, I haven't done this one yet, so I have enough of that kind of stuff. But it's to introduce people to the idea of telling their story, which is something that they don't usually think about or something like that. And we'll actually get into a little more of it when we get over to the other side there.
Okay. So
that's what we've got right there.
That's cool.
Like I said, you can come back and take a look at that.
That is awesome.
It's like what you guys did at the dining room table with your grandmother all those years ago.
Yeah, with a cassette recorder. Yeah,
exactly.
But this adds video to it. That's beautiful.
Yeah, and then this is actually kind of fun because this is really just Ancestry. Ancestry.com, which is of course the big genealogy thing, and a lot of people have not run into it before. So they come over here and they kind of push the little button, and we gave them some kind of freebies here, some kind of look at the stuff, Helen Keller, Disney, Dr. Seuss, stuff like that. But a lot of people, it's interesting, they'll get over here and they'll start using this, and we tell them, we actually have it on computer over here. You can sit down and do this if you want to, but they love it. They're just up here typing, and they get on the phone and they say, "What was Grandma's maiden name?" And they start rolling with that.
Turner Williams.
Okay.
Yep.
Let's see here.
Yeah.
Let's see here. I know she lived in Williams, Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
Williams, Indiana. Where is it?
Yeah.
It's not even on there.
Yeah. You might go with the county. Sometimes that's all you can.
Williams Lawrence. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
And she was born in 1908. Oop, come on. Fat fingers. Search.
Mm-hmm.
So Maribel Williams is my paternal grandmother.
Okay.
And her great-great-grandfather was Captain Isaac Williams that founded Williams, Indiana.
Okay.
So a connection there to Lawrence County. So.
And there she is. There's her birth certificate.
How about that?
Uh-huh.
And the census records.
Mm-hmm. You picked a good one. Some people get up here and they just flail because Grandma did not leave much of a paper trail.
How about that?
Uh-huh.
No, that's not mine. Grandma.
Okay.
Mary Clementine. That's a different Mary Williams.
Uh-huh. I saw the one down there where it's McCarley now.
Yep, there she is. That's her, 1950.
Uh-huh.
Rapides Parish. That's right. Louisiana. How about that?
Uh-huh.
Wow. That's really cool.
Well, this is oftentimes their first introduction to this stuff. So as a result, like I say, this is a chance for them to kind of play with it a little bit, experiment with it, and then come back sometime with their notes and sit down and do some hardcore stuff.
That's fantastic. That is really cool. That's awesome. What else we got?
Back
behind me
here.
Yeah, there we go.
This is kind of another sort of hands-on thing, interactive thing, where basically we just kind of say, okay, you got some story and you don't want to do the recording, you want to do something like that, go ahead and write something down and just sticky note it. And we've got it up there with a lot of time periods, and you can see that people are throwing stuff in even prehistoric.
Uh-huh.
But, and there's a lot of newer stuff. Like I said, the kids like this, kind of filling it in. And we, of course, filter it a little bit.
Sure.
Sure. Somebody gets goofy once in a while. But at the same time, it kind of introduces them to the idea that, okay, here's where we fit into this.
Yeah.
So, and that's what we're doing right there.
Well, I love the variety. I'm seeing a ton of variety in the ways that people can interact with history.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the records table, the first screen that we looked at, this Ancestry thing, and then this, a little more old school, pen and paper, pencil and paper. I think that's fantastic.
That's the thing, is we're trying to get everybody thinking along those lines about how they do that, whether it's local history or whether it's family history. So,
sure. That's cool. What else we got?
Okay, this is where we start.
This is amazing. It just keeps going. I love it.
Upgrade here because, like I say, tech is, of course, what we've got here. This is kind of our print area right here.
Okay.
Regular photocopier as well as Monster, the beast over there.
Yeah.
Doing the big thing.
Okay.
A lot of people want to use that for doing family trees and stuff.
Okay.
You've got some big extended family tree. You can actually do a poster-sized thing of that. So we have people who've been interested.
I might have to avail myself of that. My dad has done quite a bit of work on our family tree. And if you know the desk blotter page size, he's got it where it's all taped together. And I want to say it's like 5 deep and 7 wide, or it's all from my grandmother's memory, which was before she passed years ago. But it's amazing. So I might have to create that.
And if it's too delicate to scan on that, we've got this thing called Bookeye, which is another kind of scanner that we have.
Okay.
This is archival quality stuff. This is what the big boys use. Wow. So
that is really cool.
Yeah, and it's also particularly for working books, because that opens up in a way so that you can actually
oh wow!
on both sides, so that you can actually put a book in there and rest it, and then just with the foot pedal, just click, 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 running through pages.
It doesn't have to be completely flat that way. Don't break the binding on a book. That's really cool, Dave.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yep. All righty. Let's go wander around and look at some more of the tech here. A gentleman is going to be using it as well. So.
All right.
Okay. There we go. Just doing a little bit of studying here. Go ahead and use the room that you were. Oh no, somebody else has got that right there. Okay. So he's in there working. Okay. Now these are our media labs. Okay. For when you want to take it next level stuff.
Yeah.
Because this first one here is for what we call Vivid Pics, which is basically kind of a like Photoshop software kind of a thing.
Okay.
So you get your slides in there and you put them in, and they've all turned red. And this kind of helps get that red out. It's a little bit of stuff like that there.
Like slides, like actual the film slides?
Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
So you can scan them and you can do some stuff there. We also have scanning stuff in those cabinets right over there. We have carts that you can actually pull over to one of these tables and work with the materials that we have there as well. So we have that. Where that gentleman is right there is what we call our conversion lab, because that's the one that really gets the use, because everybody's got VHSs and they've got, floppy disks, and they've even got old 8mm film, and that is all for converting that to digital. Wow. Put it on a thumb drive so that you can then pass it on to the relatives, edit out all the nonsense.
How about that?
Do things like that.
Add voiceovers for 8mm. Is the capability of doing that?
Oh, hell yes.
Okay, that's awesome. That's awesome.
So,
oh yeah. We will definitely be availing ourselves of that for sure.
We have a way that you can book it online, and that's highly recommended because it is in use a lot.
Yeah.
So we have all of that together there.
That's really cool.
Okay.
That is really cool.
And then finally, the last one is our audio recording booth for people who want to get serious about, like you say, your grandma at the kitchen table. It's a little formal. Sometimes grandma has a little problem with, the headphones and the mics and stuff like that. But it is a great space in there, and it's a good size space. So we will eventually have soundproof padding in there. You can also do podcasts.
That's what I was getting ready to ask. That almost looks like a podcasting setup. So if somebody wants to get started podcasting, but doesn't want to make the investment right out of the gate and microphones and headphones and all that kind of stuff, they could come and do that here.
That's exactly.
That's fantastic.
So
that is really cool.
Yep. That is the kind of tech that we're working with right now, that people have asked about, that people are interested in.
This is awesome.
Yeah. So, okay, let's go back to the back 40.
Okay.
And by the way, this is my coworker, Jessica. I don't know if you've met her.
Hi, Jessica.
Jessica was in charge of the Bicentennial.
Oh, wow.
She was the Bicentennial coordinator.
That's fantastic.
She was very, very busy over the last year. And continues to be so. Okay, this is, of course, our regular old collection. This is the stuff that we had in the Indiana room for millennia. And so we have it now lined up here. We also have microfilm readers, because there are actually people who still want to do the microfilm.
How about that?
And there are a couple of things that haven't been digitized. Most of the stuff has. That's our goal, is try and digitize as much as we can.
Okay.
But at the
Far
same
more
time,
searchable when it's digitized than
you got it.
microfilm or books.
Much easier to do there.
Sure.
So, but a lot of people just kind of like the old style
Sure.
there, and we're not going to. Well, the thing is, this is also very, very stable. Digitization, computer programs change, and you lose stuff. I just actually lost some stuff not terribly long ago. Nothing important, but still, it was kind of like I had a thumb drive die on me.
Mm-hmm.
So, having it on paper, having it on microfilm, that stuff is going to last forever.
Sure.
So we have all of that there. So
that's awesome.
Yep. Map cases right over there.
Okay.
So atlases, maps, different things like this. Once again, we try and digitize it if we can, but at the same time, we'll pull it out and kind of look at it there.
Sure.
Telephone books going back to like 1916 for the area.
For all you Gen Zs, we had those every year, a new version of it. It was the way you looked up someone's phone number.
Uh-huh.
So magically appeared on your front porch.
That's right.
Yeah,
every year in the fall, they would just show up.
And we have been collecting them because that is another resource that
Sure.
It's as good as a city directory, which we also have. We have the
Sure.
Noblesville city directories right here. So, and then we have the scanned copies of the early stuff.
Okay.
So we have all of those right there.
That's awesome.
Have all of our fiction books over there. That's all Indiana-related fiction,
Okay.
Booth Tarkington and all the rest of them. And local authors, if somebody writes a book, we will put it up there, fiction book. If they write a nonfiction, we'll put it over in our regular collection. But fiction books all go in this
That's
area
fantastic.
right over here. So it's not terribly large, but we do realize that we have to do that. We also have a certain amount of, like, for instance, DVDs and things like that, because there are DVD connections and DVDs that are kind of relevant to the local history. So we try and find anything that kind of has some sort of significance locally and put it into the collection. Sometimes it's a little bit of a stretch, but it's still something that's right there.
That's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
This is so awesome.
Mm-hmm. So
yeah, to be fair, I'm just oohing and awing over this, and I'm amazed by it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm one of those kids that hated history in high school, and I'm finding, like I said, as I'm getting older, it's more meaningful to me, and but it's also because of people like yourself who are doing things like this, who make it not just about an old dusty textbook with names and dates you have to memorize.
That's it.
This is about life, and this is how life was lived, and it influences how we live now. The oral history, I love that part too. So,
so
yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah. And so this is kind of the back 40, or back 37 as we call it, because it overlooks 37.
Okay, there you go.
But most people use this as kind of a study area or something like that. So
I bet it's quiet back here. You get tucked back in the corner like this, isn't it?
We patrolled it.
Yeah.
Just to make sure it doesn't get too quiet.
Sure.
But at the same time, this is a nice spot for people to kind of retreat to. And
absolutely.
I mean, if you are doing some hardcore sit down and want to do some thinking, come on up. We've got the Wi-Fi.
That's
and
awesome.
you can do what you need to do there. So
that is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
It's great to know there's a place like this where you can just kind of. A lot of people will go and they'll do like co-working spaces, or they'll go to Starbucks and whatnot. But those places tend to be not very quiet.
No.
Something like this is fantastic, where if you need to really focus and get some work done, or just think.
Yeah.
So
we have some regulars who show up here, and it's very easy. Just like the gentleman we saw a little bit ago that was coming in there. So
sure.
So yeah. So that is definitely a thing. As a matter of fact, today it's kind of rare that there's nobody back here.
About that, yeah.
It's a Friday. Maybe they got other things to do with it.
And it's gorgeous outside.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
It's absolutely gorgeous outside.
Good weather. You want to go ahead and rock and roll with that.
So, before we kind of wrap up here, I told you I wasn't going to make you tell your story, and I'm not. But I will tell our viewers, if you ever want to hear a really interesting story about the Great Squirrel Stampede, find David and ask him about that. But give us a couple of Dave Heighway stories here, historical things about Hamilton County. I know you have probably thousands of stories that you could tell.
That's surprising. Then there's new ones that pop up all of the time.
Yeah.
Goofy and lively and things like that. I'm trying to think of a recent goofy one because they do turn up there. Well, actually, what was it? There is that new bookstore that's opening in downtown Noblesville.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Yes, on the corner of 10th and Connor there. And I have been
in the old clock shop.
That's what you call it.
That's what I call it. Yeah. Yeah. It's plenty of things before that, I'm sure.
I'm
too.
going to be doing a post on Facebook about it, kind of some of the real history of the thing there. So, started off as the Becker Hotel, built in 1887 by an architect, no less, and then eventually became the Grand Hotel, and then Butler Printing and a bunch of other things as time went along there. So we do have a full history on that. But in the 1890s, the Becker Hotel had a really interesting occurrence, speaking of theater.
Okay.
Because theater groups would come to town, perform at the Wild Opera House, and they would stay at the Becker or at the Wainwright House, which doesn't exist anymore, and do some things like that. Well, one group came in the 1890s that was doing a show called The Black Crook, which was a scandalous show.
Okay.
It had ladies in short skirts.
Oh gosh. For the 1890s, that would be scandalous.
You know, it was really sort of the first American musical.
Okay.
And it had a silly plot, but at any rate, so it's in town. It's not one of the first tier companies, so it's kind of a little edgy group there. Well, the husband of one of the chorus girls shows up, and he does not approve of any of this. So he comes charging into the Becker house there, gun in hand.
Oh gosh.
Yes, and charges into a room and says, "You have to stop doing this, or I'll shoot you," or something. And one of her friends faints. She runs out of the room, and he chases off, and she gets away from him. So in a rage, he runs down the street to the Wainwright House, which is the other hotel, which was on the corner of 8th and Connor.
Okay.
And just starts shooting, looking for the manager of the thing, and nearly clips a local judge. Everybody's diving out of the windows there, and finally he's tackled by the city marshal. So
oh my gosh,
they put him in jail, and his mother comes up from Indianapolis and says that he has some issues. He has some mental issues there. The wife doesn't even want to talk to him. So
I can understand that.
So eventually they do get a divorce, but in the meanwhile, there's all sorts of things in the newspaper about how, look at what this troupe is doing to our town.
Oh, sure.
There's nasty remarks about one of the chorus girls who takes like 4 guys to have to carry her out of the room after she faints. Not one of the petite ones, I guess.
Sure.
So making some nasty remarks there. And eventually they do pack up and leave, and everybody kind of... So
thank goodness that's over.
So I find all of these lively stories about these different structures, and so
you mentioned another piece of Noblesville history that's always fascinated me, and I've never really been able to get a lot of great information. You mentioned the Wild.
Yep.
The Opera House.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about the Wild.
Okay, Wild was built 1895 by a gentleman named Leonard Wild, who we just saw a little while ago.
Okay.
And Leonard's second wife, first wife died. Second wife was really into theater, and she loved that stuff. So first he built an opera house just a little north of downtown, which burned. Thank you, 1880s.
Okay.
That's the sort of thing. So when he built the Wild Opera House, which was where the Levinson building is today, he built it 4 bricks thick. It was not going to burn ever. So that was his goal, and that was kind of the performing arts place in Noblesville. That was the county venue as much as anything else.
Yeah.
So and it was there until 1959. Got a little seedy towards the end because by 1959 nobody was doing really live theater in there anymore, except high school once in a while, some things like that. So they finally tore it down in 1959. Took them forever, because it was built so solidly. They couldn't slam one of those big wrecking balls against it. They had to figure out ways to literally leverage the walls over, because they were so thick and so solid. And when they were doing excavation work on the Levinson building, I begged to be let down in there, and I got to go in there once, and I grabbed some bricks that were probably from the Wild Opera House.
That's awesome.
We now have, because what happened is when they tore it down, they just didn't know what else to do. They just dumped it into the basement and paved it over. And that was the parking lot that was there for many, many years.
Okay.
And they had some bricks. And actually, I convinced the people who were building Levinson that they ought to kind of recycle them. So in some of the stairwells of the Levinson building, there are walls of the old bricks.
How about that? That is so interesting. That's awesome. The old meets the new.
That's it.
That's fantastic.
That's what we do.
That's cool.
That's what we do.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm. Well, Dave, anything else you'd like to add?
I think
we've covered a lot of ground.
I know that.
This
definitely, physically, literally.
Yeah, that's true. This is fantastic.
From one end to the other of this massive place. This is a great spot, and that's why we want to introduce people to it.
Absolutely.
And we want them to come by and get a chance to do their local history stuff. If you're working on, research in your house, we have staff here all the time. We can come and we can talk, and you can, we will get you started on whatever it is you're working, whatever
That's
project
fantastic.
you're working on.
I love that.
You will be able to get some things done.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Dave, thanks for taking the time to meet with us this morning.
All right.
We really appreciate it.
Stopping by.
Thanks for watching today. Take advantage of this. What an amazing resource. I'm amazed at what they've done here. The technology, the resources. David Heighway is an amazing resource. Tons of stories, tons of insight. Take advantage of this. So come by Hamilton East Public Library, talk to Dave Heighway, find out about what's going on in Noblesville, what's been going on in Noblesville. So as always, we want to say a big thank you to the Noblesville Elks Lodge number 576 for sponsoring Doc About Town and helping us bring this show to you every week at this time, so you can learn more about what's happening in and around Noblesville. Have a great day, and we'll see you soon.